Devotion, basically a mono red devotion deck, splashing Domery instead of Chain of the Rocks. We usually see it touch white. What I'm really interested about in this matchup is the red green devotion deck isn't, in most draws, is not incredibly explosive. It usually takes around till turn 4 for it to get the ball rolling. So David's actually going to get potentially a chance to do his thing uncontested. And I'm really interested in that. Against the red green deck, the monsters deck, he was just mana creature into Pelucanos into Stormbrought Dragon.
Yeah.
That happened just too fast. But here he might get a shot to deploy his game plan.
You see David scrying with the Temple of Mystery. He took 1 mulligan this game, so he'll be starting on 6 cards, but he's on the draw, so it's like he didn't mulligan at all. I think that's how that works anyway.
Well, he has a divination, so he's actually up on cards already.
Yeah, and why wouldn't he roll divination off the top of everything else that he could draw? As here's a Frostburn Weird from Smith to get the aggression started. Temple Garden now drawn. And the Temple Garden's going to come and play on tap. McDarby going to go down to 18, and there's Sylvan Caryatid. Kind of the straw that stirs the drink there, kind of holds everything together.
Yeah, definitely an untargetable wall mana creature, checks off all these boxes. Ramps, fixes his colors, which are a little stretched, and a combo with Axebane Guardian, the final piece of the puzzle.
Yes, it does it all here. Smith going to start by attacking. McDarby probably can't afford to block right now, so says, sure, I'm likely just going to end up taking 1, so okay, let's make it 2. How about that?
And we see most prevalently, blue and black devotion decks. This deck right here is a capital D devotion deck. I mean, this is all about getting a ton of permanents in play, having a bunch of different colored mana symbols in play, and going off with Nykthos.
Brain Emissary comes down, but nothing to do with the mana, which happens a lot in this particular deck. We'll see a Temple of Silence from McDarby. And maybe it's time for a Mizium Mortars. Maybe he wants to ramp towards Mizium Mortars. He does need 2 more red sources to actually be able to overload that. You can see his hand. He's got Sylvan Primordial and Ancient Serenity over there as well. Nice mishmash of cards.
Yeah, just a sampling of card drawing, removal, and 7 and 8 mana creatures.
McDarby going to cast Mizium Mortars. This is get Frostburn Weird out of here, thank you. I'd like you to stop beating me down. And pass the turn back. So Smith's going to untap those lands. He'll take a draw step. Not sure if he has the Nykthos yet. That's obviously the big one, as Smith's going to start by attacking for 2.
Well, he's actually getting to the point of the game where, even independent of that, it looks like his hand is just lands beyond these Frostburn Weirds. He can actually cast his setup cards.
Choosing not to cast the next Frostburn, however. He could have played Stomping Ground untapped and played the other Frostburn, but he chose not to. So McDarby is going to cast a Divination. He'll draw a couple of cards. Looks like a few lands. He already used the Mizium Mortars, so that overloading thing is out the window here, but plays a Stomping Ground, passes the turn back. So Smith is going to draw his card for the turn. See if he has anything crazy explosive to do.
Well, he's at the point now where, Stormbrought Dragon and Chandra and all that stuff is castable, so.
Yep. It's kind of funny, too, because when you're playing against a deck like McDarby's, you kind of do have to tread a little bit carefully because you don't really know what's coming from it if you haven't seen it. If Smith hasn't sat next to him for rounds or anything like that, doesn't really have a great idea of what McDarby's up to. He just knows he's got a lot of different lands and Sylvan Caryatid.
Yeah, and it looked like last turn Ryan elected not to play the additional weird in his hand.
Yeah.
So he's clearly conscious of, there could be a sweeper looming.
And now, the other, he does not want to cast that spell. Yeah, he is scared of something.
I think it's Mortars.
That's fair.
He's got a lot of pressure in play already.
Yeah.
He's got a Fanatic and Mogus in his hand, so David is fairly close to dead.
This is actually how you get a pretty nice edge, too. And he is actually going to cast it of just like, if you don't know what my deck does, you could actually just be terrified because you just have no idea what I can do. You don't know what I'm capable of. Looks like a Sylvan Primordial, Caryatid going to be added. Primordial is in the hand. Stomping Ground going to come and play tap, pass the turn back. Will McDarby over to Smith. So Smith's going to untap and draw with those 2 Weirds and Burning Emissaries in play. But that red deck can really light you up for a lot due to Fanatic Amogi.
Yep. David is trying to get to Angel of Serenity here without his life total without too much damage having been done to his life total.
Looks like it might be time to get in the red zone. Frostburn Weirds are coming in. You almost have to block now if you're McDarby, it feels like. Just because, if you take this, you end up taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You take 7 potentially. Can you really afford to do that? Do you think Angel Serenity is really going to get the job done then? I think you got to block 1.
Yeah, I like blocking 1. Makes him use all of his mana doing this. And then if he doesn't advance his board, if he just says, "All right, I'll pump into my weirds and say go," then Angel does some real damage.
That's what's going to happen. So bye-bye Caryatid. There's a mountain past the turn back. McDarby's going to draw very quickly. He's going to play a forest. He does have a bunch of white mana angels ready. He's going to show up here. And the former boogeyman in standard with a little 3-for-1 action. And after McDarby, the hope is no Storm Breath, no Storm Breath, no Storm Breath, no Storm Breath.
Well, Perforos is also a really dangerous draw. I mean, there's still a lot of goodies that Ryan can have from this spot, but...
Here's some mana.
Oh, no.
That's 5 mana. I think that's Storm Breath, that's Storm Breath, that's Storm Breath. And for 4, going to put McDarby down to 2. So McDarby is going to have to draw something useful here. Now, here's the thing. Sylvan Primordial, the thing does a lot of stuff. It's got reach.
Yeah, it's so big that it...
Attack for 5. Smith down to 15. Now, of course, McDarby's going to have to fade here. There's the Primordial. It's going to come in, get rid of that green land. He takes a look at it. We'll do the same here at home so you guys can see exactly what this does. Funny that this has been cast in back-to-back weeks.
Yeah, no, we've had a lot of Sylvan Primordials in the X1 bracket so far in our Open Series.
We watched Corvasi last week and get absolutely decimated by Sylvan Primordial.
I believe there were 4 of them cast in
100.
one game, if I recall.
Felt like 400,
yeah.
Yes. But the 6/8 has reach. It's trumping the dragon right now, and Smith is... Smith is currently 2 lands away from Monstrosity, but he was tapping some mana pretty quickly there. I got a feeling that McDarby might be dead.
Boo! Boo! Fine, Ryan, you win game 1. Tough guy.
Real tough guy with your mythic dragon that has protection from Angel Serenity.
Real tough guy.
All right, Ryan Smith does win game number 1 here. Red-Green Devotion up a game over McDarby in his 5-color ramp deck. We'll start with McDarby's sideboard. How's that sound?
All right, I'm in.
1 Supreme Verdict, a Doomblade of Vraska the Unseen, 2 Blood Baron of Escopa, an Aetherling, an Attention Sphere, a War Leader's Helix, 2 Abrupt Decay, 1 Golgari Charm, 1 Ratchet Bomb, and 3 Thoughtseizes. Obviously, a very carefully built sideboard.
Yeah.
Clearly, every card has a purpose.
Yeah, this was definitely a lot of tuning and tweaking that went into this board.
I think the Doomblade and the Vraska are probably going to come in because Storm Breath is such a problem. Could also see, of course, Blood Baron coming in and actually doing something of note. I mean, I kind of like War Leader's Helix because it draws, because it gains you life, and it's like a pretty decent removal spell. Detention Sphere seems okay, but along all the cards that I'm seeing here, there aren't a lot of answers in the deck for Storm Breath Dragon. That seems to be the big problem.
There aren't a lot. I basically like any reasonably reliable removal spell against the red Devotion decks because they're so permanent saturated. They're about going off with Nykthos. So anything that you can do to trade 1-for-1 with the stuff they're putting on the board is pretty good. So I like Abrupt Decay for that reason. I like War Leader's Helix for that reason. It kills enough stuff and gives you a little bit of time. But yeah, some of the other stuff that's going on here, not the most efficient. He does lack good answers to Storm Breath Dragon pretty much across the board in his deck, but he does get to at least bring in a Doomblade. I don't think he's going to touch Blood Baron because Mizium Mortars is in the other deck, but I do like the additional spot removal for sure.
What do you got on your side?
2 Shocks, a Mortars, 2 Destructive Revelries, 2 Plummets, 2 Xenagoses, 3 Mistcutter Hydras, and 3 Anger of the Gods. I like Plummet a lot based on what he saw.
I think you have to board Plummet in just because of the Angel.
Pretty sweet against that. And other than that, it's, usually you bring in Planeswalkers against control decks. That's sort of standard Magic 101. It's a little bit more dangerous to bring them in against more board control decks, like the one that David's playing where there's Angel Serenity and Sylvan Primordial. Because these decks can actually either just quickly overpower Planeswalkers or also be able to attack them. So I don't know how much you want to go down the Xenagos route. That said, Ryan was definitely noticeably cautious and mindful of sweepers in that game. So if he's playing the game like that, then it makes a lot of sense to bring in Planeswalkers.
Now, a lot of people have been asking at home what's kind of going on with McDarby's deck, and again, I do want to point you in the direction of the deck tech, but there are 4 revelations in this deck. Even though we haven't seen one in his hand or get cast when we've been watching him play, there are 4 copies of Sphinx's Rev here that he can actually cast for large amounts due to Sylvan Caryatid and Axeman Guardian, and just, he's got an Urban Evolution in his deck. So, once he actually gets to a lot of mana, he actually has a lot to do with it. He just hasn't drawn one.
And Rakdos Returns, another former Standard star that has fallen by the wayside in recent months.
True.
Used to be a defining card in Jund and in, other 4-color decks and what have you, and now just sort of a has-been, man, and also ran.
Seen Rakdos' Return win a lot of games
by
itself and has not seen a lot of play recently. Maybe that card's a piece of the puzzle to try to beat Mono Black Devotion. Who knows?
It's really good with Farseek, because then you have more mana, and Farseek's not a card that you don't get to play anymore.
You know what card I don't want to see cast for a little while?
Farseek. Saw a lot of that.
Got a little tired of Farseek.
Yeah, it's a little played out.
You don't get to just play whatever mana you want with no punishments. I'm tired of that.
Yeah.
I need a little break from that.
David has put himself through all sorts of punishment to tie this room together, I'll tell you what.
That's true. Sylvan Caryatid got a little Chromatic Lantern action. I want the Lantern to be good.
Axebane Guardian.
Oh, Axie? That's not punishment at all. That just is fun. That's good, clean fun.
Good, clean living.
Yeah.
The Lantern is definitely, if you asked me, which card has, based on my initial reaction to how good it was going to be versus its standard play, I think Chromatic Lantern was the one I most overestimated. I thought it was going to be a real hallmark of 3 and 4 color decks, and
Same.
it just really hasn't played out that way.
Is it too much to get Coalition Relic back?
I think
Is that card too good?
Probably too good.
All right. It's like my favorite card when I cube draft. I always think of the 3-mana mana accelerator. That's the one I want.
It's also just annoying to keep track of. That's actually the bigger problem that I have with it.
I don't get as annoyed as easily as you do. My opponent can spin top all day. I don't mind.
I get annoyed pretty easily.
See a stomping ground here for Smith. McDarby going to start off with some Temples of Deceit. Get that mana base online. Smith going to take a draw. Here's an Ash Cell getting in the red zone early and often. Going to knock McDarby down to 18 as McDarby takes a draw step. There's a Forest. Is it time to get a little Axie Waxy?
Please.
No, just
let
the
it be
Temple
true.
Garden. Just the Temple Garden. Passing the turn back.
Looks like Vraska's come in.
Yeah, I mean, got to have ways to take care of that stupid dragon. As an attack here for 2 from Smith. Going to put McDarby down to 16. And there's a Nykthos. There's a Hammer. So Nykthos is going to start generating some mana. Things could get out of control here. Here's a Jace, Architect of Thought. Sure, why not?
Not bad.
You can cast anything. Might as well get that in the deck. That's a really good card. And there is Jace. Are we going up? Elevator is going up. We'll pass the turn. Let's see what Smith's got to do on this turn.
I mean, on board he can't handle Jace on board, so that's a good start for David at least.
Here's the Nykthos activation. It's going to be for 4. There's a Perforos. Uh-oh.
Oh, Hoodalally.
Yeah. That has Jesus, that has haste. Wow, I missed that.
Perforos is
My God.
Perforos is a combo with Hammer of Perforos.
Yep.
That's a really nice design.
That is neat.
That is neat.
The Hammer comes first, then you play Perforos, and then they get bashed in the face by it. That's fun for everyone, yeah.
Nice. I like it.
So let's see what McDarby's going to do here.
I am intrigued as well.
I mean, he's got an Attention Sphere that I think he has to cast. But the question is, what do you target? And I think, here's Vraska's going to go. Ooh.
I like it.
Kill the Hammer. Okay.
I like it. Good turn.
All right, tough guy.
Just trying to get to Angel.
Just trying to stay alive.
Buy a little bit more time,
Now Smith didn't play a land last turn. And he's got a Nykthos in his hand, but Nykthos isn't generating any mana right now. So, okay. Vraska, very expensive. Vindicate.
Dude, Perforos and Hammer Perforos.
That
is sweet.
It's a combo deck.
That's a combo, too.
Yeah. It doesn't take much to impress us in the booth,
no.
Not at this old age. Here's a Boros Reckoner. So now Trigger. 2 damage. Looks like it's going upstairs. I wonder if we ignore Vraska. I think you got to kill it, right?
I don't think that's true.
Yeah,
I mean, it cost him very little to take care of it, but I also believe if he was feeling so inclined, he could ignore Vraska.
Perforos is very large. Just a big creature. Supreme Verdict in hand. I don't know if he can cast it.
He cannot.
Oh, no. If he can't cast that, he definitely can't cast Ageless Ready in 2 turns.
Come on, David.
We just want to see you get 1 Stomping Ground, pass the turn back.
I don't even care about. I wanted to have 1 good turn. I guess he had the Angel Serenity turn.
That turn was good.
That turn was good.
And then Dragon showed up and he died, but that turn was good. Fnatic Emogi in hand. The Nykthos can generate 5, and you can play replace the Nykthos, and geez, I don't even want to think about it.
Yeah. It's not good.
No.
Ryan's in the enviable position of thinking about if he can just try to go for the kill this turn or play around Essence Scatter and just hold the Fnatic Amogus in his hand.
What do I have to worry about? Is there anything? Generate some mana with Nykthos. It's going to be for 5. Bang. 5 minus 2 is 3, plus 5 is 8. 8 red. Yeah, I'd be terrified if I was McDarby. What's about to happen to me? I'm going to cast an Ash Zealot. I'm going to cast a Fanatic of Mogi. I am no longer alive. Ryan Smith is going to win this match over Dave McDarby 2-0. Red-Green Devotion moving on to 6-1.
Now, if you watched our matches, the 2 times we've had Dave on camera today, you're going to have to believe us when we tell you he did win 5 matches
He
on
did.
camera.
He has won 5 matches. That also means that he's won 10 games.
Right. But on camera today, it's been a real...
He has not drawn or cast Wings of Revelation on camera.
Correct.
I did not realize that it was in his deck until I scanned over his deck list again, and there are 4 copies of it. He just has not drawn any of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdos in his deck that we hadn't really seen. We didn't see Rakdos return at any point. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the 1-ofs more than we saw the actual 4-ofs, which for him is unfortunate, but he was basically what this deck is trying to do, is it's trying to make Angel of Serenity happen.
I think it makes, if I were to go about working on this deck myself, which I would not, but if I was so inclined to do so,
Okay.
I think where I would start would be to get rid of the Axebane Guardians,
Oh,
add
boy.
more Lanterns, and play more Wraths.
You're going to cut old Axie-Waxie, huh?
Well, this deck has, not a lot of targets for removal. It's really leaning on Axebane Guardian to make a sufficient amount of mana